Mr. Tim Hagerman is with the state's Economic Development Department. He'd like to give an update to Mayor and Council.
Welcome, Mr. Hagerman.
Thank you, Mayor, Leo, Councilman, and Councilwoman. My name is Tim Hagerman. I work for the Economic Development Department. Alicia Keys is our Cabinet Secretary, as you have met with her in the past, and look forward to any future meetings that you would like to have with the Cabinet Secretary. Tonight, I just wanted to say hello and update you on some of the programs and initiatives that our department has put together. During the fires that we had this spring, we just finished a wildfire grant program through our department. We were able to utilize $1.5 million out of our collateral support program to award up to 160 applicants that submitted an application in the last few weeks. So these were for businesses that were affected by the fire in Warren and San Miguel, Colfax, and Lincoln County and Valencia County. So hopefully that will make a big impact in regards to the losses that they had. We also had a Certified Economic Development Organization program announced this year, where we helped economic development organizations become certified, and next week we'll be announcing those at our State Economic Development Conference held in Albuquerque on Monday and Tuesday. So would invite you to attend. And I know that last year you were at the Recreation Conference in Farmington, and welcome you to attend in Albuquerque. And we have lots of programs like Main Street, and I'm glad to see that you have that on the agenda tonight. I have 7 Main Street programs in the 7 counties that I represent out of my offices in Mora at Mora County. So we appreciate all the support you've provided Main Street to continue to create an economic impact in your downtowns and more preservation projects. And then lastly, wanted to invite you to attend Las Vegas's first film festival next week, and it'll be held at the Indigo Theater and the Elefeld Auditorium, as well as the Student Union at Highlands and at the Skillet. So this is called Billy the Kid Shootout, and I have been tasked to help Elmo Baca with inviting all the speakers and the authors to come. We'll have author signings, and they'll be introducing all the historic films that have been filmed on Billy the Kid. And there are more films done on Billy the Kid than any other individual, and it's really neat to see him become an ambassador to our state's history and spend a lot of time here. So it will start on the 29th at Indigo Theater, and there'll be a U.S. premiere of a French film that was filmed in Las Vegas, as well as Mora. So I'd like to invite you to that, as well as other events through that 3-day period on the 29th, 30th, and October 1st. Thank you very much, Mayor, and if you have any questions, be happy to address that.
Thank you, Mr. Hagerman. Anybody?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mato?
Mr. Hagerman, how many businesses here in Las Vegas have taken advantage of that grant?
I've got a list. I can get that to you tomorrow.
Okay, and on the 7 main projects that you have going in the northern part of the state, how many are from San Miguel County or Las Vegas?
Well, one of the projects I'm hoping that we can push forward is utilizing water lines to your airport. And recently visited Roswell and met with their economic development organization, as well as the maintenance facilities that the Roswell Air Center provides. And they see a real missing link up in this part of the state in regards to maintenance of aircraft. So we'd like to set up a site visit down to Roswell and learn more about that. or we can have them come up to your airport and talk about whether investment could be made by the private sector, and consider the improvements that you have out at the airport and preserve those assets, and put people to work and provide gross receipts tax and out at the airport, increase those tax receipts.
So right now, we don't have an application
For the,
airport water line?
we're just waiting for the commitment in regards to having a plan done on economic development improvements out at the airport. And once Moles and Corbin complete that plan, then we can take that project to the secretary and have that considered.
Gotcha, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Romero?
Tim, I don't know if you've met our community development director yet?
I sure have. I've met Amy.
Okay, and the reason why I say that is, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we're aggressively being more involved with doing more grants through the COG, the Northern COG.
Fantastic.
And I mean, I'd like to see if you could, step up and help us, whatever grants through the economic development division, to, maybe we could sit down and, I think we as a council have, made it a point that we want to be aggressive on everything that we can. Of course, we know, things are going to take sometimes matches in that, but if you could really step up and help us
You
with
bet.
that, because
I meet with Christopher Madrid on a regular basis. He's been spending a lot of time in Morat County. And Barella Timber Works here in Las Vegas, they're getting ready to expand their equipment purchases and double their workforce. So we've applied through the COG and the county for a CDBG, Economic Development Set-Aside, so that, and as well as EDA planning money.
thank you.
And we hope to have a LEDA application out of that also through our department. And LEDA funds can go toward land, buildings, and infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Hageman.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business,
Mr.
please.
Mayor, councilors' reports?
Councilors? Anybody?
I would like to just say that I've received various phone calls about the water that's being distributed still. Is having a musty smell, and I know that Mr. Maestas has been working really hard with FEMA trying to get cartoned water rather than plastic bottled water, but FEMA has already expressed to him that we get what they have and we don't have a choice. So I would suggest that maybe the PSA informing people that we don't have any control over that, and it's a FEMA issue, and there's nothing wrong with the water, but I've been telling people to take it out of the plastic packaging and wipe each bottle down with a Clorox wipe or some kind of disinfectant wipe, so that when they drink it, the nose is part of how you taste your food. And if you smell that musty smell on the bottle, you're also going to taste it in the water, even if it's not existing in the water. So, and some people have thanked me for telling them that, and they're happy campers now, but we need to let everybody know that we have no control over that whatsoever. Also, some people would like to know if we could provide some kind of receptacle where they can put in their plastic bottles, and they can be recycled. They're concerned about just putting them in the regular trash. So that's another issue that we need to address, because there's a lot of plastic bottles out there. I had one more thing. Oh, the animals running at large. I did get a phone call this afternoon as I was coming to the council meeting from an elderly constituent who was very upset about dogs running at large in her neighborhood. And she mentioned that although She has called dispatch. Dispatch always tells her, we'll attempt to try to get somebody out there. But she said, I don't think the attempts are working because the dogs are still out here and I can't even go outside. And so we need to keep in mind that we have a lot of small children. We have a lot of elderly constituents, citizens that live out there. And if they don't feel safe, even going for a short walk because of the animals that are out of control, we need to do something. And there are a lot of people who sadly don't take good care of their animals. And if you look at some of the postings on Facebook, you'll see that a lot of people have lost their dogs. They don't know where they are. They got scared with the thunder or whatever it was, but there are a lot out there. And I ran into one myself this morning buying groceries, and luckily it was a very friendly dog that if I could have taken him home, I would have. But, we need to address that as soon as possible so that we don't have that kind of thing happening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Casey, anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
I just wanted to bring to it, Councillor Casey and I were invited to a housing meeting with Highlands University. They're having issues.
What about that?
That's what I was going to ask if you were going to say something.
Oh, okay.
But, there's a lot of discussion. There's 69% of the professors that are living out of the county. It's a city and county. So that's a concern to some of their board regents. And I think a lot of the discussion in turn turned into the housing issue that we had. So, and Mayor, kind of coincidentally, the day before you had asked me to fill in for you on a housing summit. And one thing that, came up in every session that I attended, and I think I'd like to bring that up, and maybe we could look, just kind of topic right now, is there's a consolidated housing plan that the city and the county are going to have to work with jointly to put that plan together. And that's because in order for us, for any, whether it's, a builder or anything, for HUD or DFA, HUD or MFA loans, that's very important, to address the needs of this community. So I just wanted to bring that up, and maybe we could, or Mayor, I know you had wanted to discuss housing here at a special meeting or something, so just kind of bring that up. The other thing that I wanted to bring up that's kind of, I guess as Councillor Casey says, we addressed a lot of concerns in the community. We still have the issue of how come we canceled the Fridays al fresco, and I want to make sure that this is known publicly. The lodger's tax application for any organization that applies for a lodger's tax, and that application states that they are applying for money to attract out-of-town visitors. And there's been confusion that, well, it's a local event. Well, we can't have it both ways. If you're receiving lodger's tax funding, in that application, it was submitted that it was in all reality intended for out of the 60-mile range. And I wanted to make that clear, that that's one of the reasons why, is because it was considered in the lodger's tax applications, an event that brings out, tourists. So I just wanted to, clear that up and kind of, I guess, answer some questions as to why Fridays al fresco was canceled, for the city. I think discussion has to be made a little more clearly, if funding is going to be continued to be used from lodger's tax. Is it a local event, or is it a tourist event? So I just wanted to bring that up for further discussion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Anybody else? Thank you. Next order of business?
Police Chief's report. We have Antonio Salazar, our Police Chief.
Welcome, Mr. Salazar.
Sorry, it was coming up different on my computer. Okay, let's see. So these are the calls for service that we've had from our patrol division and our animal control. So we've had 7 animal control calls, 70 arrests were made, 1 burglary report was filed, we had 4 calls for burglary reports. And like I explained, some neighbors might call, or some passerbys might call and say there's somebody in the yard, and it comes across as a possible burglary. Out of those 3, they're either left the area or it wasn't any burglary. There was no signs of entry or anything. So that's why those 4 were not reported. So we had, for incoming calls, so let's go to traffic citations. We had 370 traffic citations and incoming calls 1,609. So community events, we attended the Honor Guard in Albuquerque, and also we did the Friday Al Frescoes, which was, I believe, those the last ones. We did back to school barbecue at the Plaza Park. We attended the Elks Drug Awareness Program. It was a kids event at the Carnegie Library, or Carnegie Park, sorry. We also set up a presentation for active shooter at Los Niños Elementary School. For code compliance, we had 13 abandoned vehicles were tagged, 25 citations were issued, 3 properties are in abatement pending, and 1 is in the process. We did a security inspection on a new cannabis store business. It was the one on Subway. That was the most recent one, and we fulfilled 3 of the requests. My apologies, this is the updated one. So, for our animal care center, I know that's a big concern, especially Councillor Casey mentioned. So we have, let's see, from last month, we are at capacity. We are still managing some adoptions. We did an adoption center that was this month. We did an adoption event in Edgewood. So we were able to get, I believe, 5 dogs and 10 cats. 10 of those cats were adopted through Edgewood. Here you can kind of see that it is there's issues whenever we get pregnant dogs in the facility, because 9 were born in the facility. 9 dogs were born in the facility. So the information, our records division, we had 166 offense incident reports were entered into Tyler. 41 traffic accident reports were entered. 415 citations were entered. 181 customers were attended to, and then 446 offense and traffic reports were scanned. Here, our dispatch division, 646 incoming 911 calls, 598 were answered. Again, they make every attempt to call those individuals back, whether it was by accident. Officers still do respond to those ones who do not call back or who don't pick up the line afterwards. We had 1,000, and I mentioned this earlier, the calls for service. We had 186 fire calls and 186 AMR calls, 109 code compliance calls, and 102 animal control calls. Our street crimes investigations and narcotics division, 19 cases were assigned, 17 were self-initiated cases. That's whenever they go out and they look for things, if they see things, Sometimes there's reports of drug activity. They go out, they make a case out of whatever it is they find whenever they come across it. They had 6 arrests and they found 1 missing person. This was a high number for search warrants. We executed 10 search warrants during this month. They were related to drug crimes, firearm crimes. Those were the 2 main topics for those, 2 main probable causes for those search warrants. So we seized 0.90 grams of methamphetamine, 1 gram of crack cocaine, and out of those, there was 39 individuals that were packaged for sale. So we were able to stop 30 packages from being sold. 53 fentanyl pills, and important, I know this is a big one, 3 illegal firearms were seized. I'm going to go through some of the ones from patrol, some of the main ones. So out of patrol, they seized 1 firearm, and let's see here, the total fentanyl pills between narcotics and patrol were 480 fentanyl pills were seized off the streets. And we seized $843 out of those 10 search warrants. Some of the trainings that we attended last month, this is a big one, the Media Relations and Public Information Officer, Caleb Marquez and I, we attended this in Albuquerque. We had one attend a defensive tactics instructor course in Naleo, and another big one for investigations, homicide investigations and crime scene management. This one is a big one for us also, the tracking the cell phone. Now we added a little bit of software to our investigations, and we're able to start tracking some cell phones. And I mean, obviously with search warrants and things like that, we're able to start doing that. So our hiring and promotions, we hired 1 animal control officer, Antonio Hernandez. So we currently have 2. We only have 1 vacancy at this point. We hired 2 police officers. They're in training now. They're finishing up their training, and they'll be getting out this next week. We promoted 1 sergeant from intern to a full-time sergeant. Just updating the list here from the intern, lieutenant, and sergeant. And we are hoping to attend honor guard for the football games and other events. So we established an honor guard within the police department. We have 4 individuals that are in from us and some of the sheriff's office, and I believe there's 2. And we want to start representing our colors at the football games or any other outside event that we do, whether it be out of town, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, wherever, just so we can represent our colors during any big event. We have total vacancies. We still have 19, and I apologize, the animal care center is not on here. We're only down 1 care tech right now. We currently have, we will be hiring 1 on Monday, and we're only down 1 position at the care center. And I stand for any questions if you guys have any.
Mr. Romero?
I don't know if this question will go to you or to Leo maybe. I was asked by city schools about, they were offering us the Legion Elementary, and I don't know, I guess there was an MOU or an agreement there. We kind of worked out a lease, and we mapped out a certain section of the building, and we kind of figured the utilities and everything just for the portion of that, what we would be utilizing. We would block off the portion that we were not. We want to try to use it as a training facility. So in the event that we do get it and it is approved, we would be able to host much larger trainings. Whenever I attend the Police Chiefs Association meetings, they are looking for a training facility big enough. Like, obviously, it's not going to be anything big like the way they have in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, but they don't really have a big training facility this far north of the state. So how close are we to that? I mean, it's fairly close. City manager and I were still in conversations about it, but
It's on my desk. We've been discussing it. We're looking at what the utilities is going to run for the building, what the main usage for it, all the square footage of the building is going to be before we make the approval to go forward with it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gento.
thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah. So Chief, you have on your report assigned personnel to present to maintain public safety at the Friday night frescoes on here? Should that not be there?
Say it again?
You have on your assignments of community events, assigning personnel present to maintain public safety at the Friday night frescoes evenings, which takes place at the Plaza Park.
That was from last month. We did, I believe there was one last one during that month. That was at the beginning of the month.
Okay, and then I've been getting reports on downtown 7th, 8th, 9th Street area about still, I guess we have some trailer, small unit trailers that are parked on city right-of-way that don't have tags or license plates, and also loose dogs in that area. And then my other question was you brought up the honor guard?
Yes.
And whose direction is that going to be? Who's going to be the one to say where they go, when they go, and?
It would be us, myself and Deputy Chief.
Okay. And you have, presently you have 4 officers per shift? And we can still afford to do that, to send officers out of town to do National Guard?
Yeah, we wouldn't send, we have 4 that are interested and that are doing it, that are on honor guard. We wouldn't necessarily send all 4. Some 2,
Okay.
some events require 2, things like that.
Getcha. And my last question is, what are you doing different, or what are you doing for the Halloween for keeping our kids safe this Halloween?
So we're adding on the high traffic areas. I forget the streets, but we did this last year too. We had officers go through lights and with their lights, not the sirens on, but we had them pass slow through each neighborhood. We try to slow down on I guess be selective on some of the calls that we have. We try to pen them just a little bit so we can make sure the kids are walking safe on the sidewalk, and there's more officers. And on Halloween night, there'll be more overtime as well.
And you're working with Chuck and Mr. Maestas on that for the trick or trunk, or what is it?
Trunk or treat.
Trunk or treat. No.
I'm hoping we can do something like the way we did last year. Police department, they had a booth out there. We passed out candy at the Safeway, but we haven't had those conversations just yet. But I'm sure.
Because Mr. Maestas, I'd like to see if we could get involved, the community business involved in this, and send them out notices, letting them know if they want to participate. That way the kids can go in the afternoon instead of at night through the whole business area downtown.
So trunk or treat, the date that we're looking at for trunk or treat is the Saturday prior to Halloween. Halloween falls on a Monday this week, or this month, this year. And that's the day that we're having it at Safeway parking lot. We're just barely in the planning stages right now. We'll be getting that information out to the community. But I think you're talking about on Halloween, I think is what you're asking.
Well, on whichever day we're going to have the kids out there.
We will definitely disseminate that message to all the business community to get their participation in that event.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Salazar.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next order of business, please.
I just want to add
Mr. Romero?
one more thing to that. I know that we passed our ordinance last week for the police oversight. Yeah, I just just a heads up, maybe we could work as a group to put something together to give a task for the committee to work on.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, before your first meeting, maybe we can sit down and school the council on how we make referrals to that commission and what we want that commission to be doing.
Okay,
Okay?
yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, next we have our finance report by Mr. Dominic Chavez, our interim
Welcome,
finance
Dominic. I
director.
appreciate you being here.
Good evening, how are you, Mayor and Council?
How are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you. I have the revenue and expense report to present to you for the month of August. 16.6% of the year's gone through. On our revenues for our general fund, we're at 13%, $1.9 million. Our expenditures are sitting at 12%, $2 million. And of course, these GRTs are coming from the month of June. Our enterprise funds, we're at 15%, $2.6 million in revenue. And our expenditures at 11% is $2.1 million. Our recreation center, $82,000 in revenue, 11%, and $74,009 in expenditures for 8% a month. Our lodger's tax revenues have come in at $130,000, 18% for the year, and our expenditures are at $93,000, 13% for the year.
Dominic?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Or go ahead and finish your report, and then I have a question on lodger's tax.
Go ahead. That's
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. We have been very generous with the lodgers and had a good honor system with them. However, it's been a while since we've audited the lodgers. So could you and the manager set up a process to audit, maybe not 100%, but maybe a few of them on a constant basis, like maybe, and however you want to do it. It's just that that's one of the things that is mentioned in the documents from the state of New Mexico regarding lodger's tax, is that the city does their due diligence in making sure that they are paying what they say, what they're contributing, and setting up an audit system for the lodgers to make sure that we, one, that the lodgers are paying, and then two, what they're paying is actually real. So if maybe at some point you can come up with a way of auditing,
Yes, sir.
that would be great.
And we do it annually. However, the vendor that we have comes in and they make a random selection as to who they're going to audit. But I have spoken with our auditors, our internal auditors and our external auditors, I'm sorry. And I asked them if we could do 100%. They didn't recommend 100% because then time consuming.
Right.
But we would just get a pool and audit those ones. So yes, we can, city
Okay.
manager and I can do so.
Awesome. Yes, go ahead.
On top of that, the other thing that we're not even capitalizing on, and we have an ordinance in place, is the Airbnbs. I think the last I checked, there was only one Airbnb that was registered with the city. So we're not receiving any funds from any Airbnbs. And if you go to Airbnb.com, see how many are on there, and that's and those are more expensive than the hotel rooms. So that's a lot of revenue that's being lost there. So yeah, that if we really need to jump on that.
I think last we looked, there was like 7 in local
An Airbnb, and
or more.
I've seen on Facebook a lot more than that.
Okay.
They're just not registered with the city as a business. Yeah. The other thing, Mr. Chavez, is Ms. Casey has been asking for an expense report. If we could get her an expense report on a monthly basis.
Yes, sir. I did provide that to the city manager.
Yes, we discussed as, by the request by Councillor to have that report and in detailed expense report from vendors, and we talked about it, and was it sent to me through email?
Yes, sir.
I can provide that.
Okay, thank you very
Mr.
much.
Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
Dominic, I know you weren't here at the last finance committee meeting, but, there was a couple of recommendations, and one of them was for us to try and push harder to hire a director, a finance director. And our city manager and HR went ahead and advertised. We advertised it, and picked up the salary and showed the salary of 75,000 to 85,000 for anyone that's interested on that. There was another recommendation, and I guess your system can do it, and that was more of a breakdown on the expenditures and the monies coming in, other than using this one. So I'm sure your assistant will inform you on that one.
She has
hasn't
briefed me
already.
on it.
Briefed
I'd
you?
like to sit with whoever wants to sit down together and go over what exactly.
Mr. Weir's, I believe that was a request from you.
Yeah.
To sit down with you and go over exactly what you'd like to see, because
We can definitely change this up.
Okay. He will be making an appointment with the city manager with you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Romero?
Dominic, are you going to stick around for the union?
This evening?
Yeah, yes, okay, just correction question. Thank you.
Dominic, thank you. Is there anything in the report that you need to alert council about?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay. And I appreciate your hard work
Thank you much.
very
Appreciate
much.
you.
Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Mr. Mayor, approval of minutes for August 30th, 2022.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes for August 30th, 2022, and I did send in 2 corrections.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey. Second. Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
And Cassandra, thank you and your group and Danelle for your hard work. You're very efficient by producing these minutes, and you all work very hard, and your job is very much appreciated.
Appreciate that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is consent agenda, and that consists of items 1 through 4. Did you want me to read those into the record?
Please. Thank you, Cassandra.
Item 1, request approval of resolution number 2247. This is submittal of an application for funding through the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for a new water treatment plant facility. Item 2 is resolution number 2249. This is also an application for funding through New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. This one's for a pre-treatment system in the Gallinas Canyon. The third one is resolution 2250, submittal of an application for funding through the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for a pre-treatment system at the Story Lake Pump House. And item number 4 is approval of resolution 2251. This is submittal of an application for funding through the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for new generators at the wastewater treatment plant.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion, Mr. Montoya?
Yes, I'd just like to let the public know that, a lot of times we're criticized for the situation that we're in with our water, and other administrations dating back 20, 30 years ago, when they acquired the water system from P&M, had similar issues, but not as hard as ours. But just to confirm with the public that we are doing everything we can to ensure our existing of water, our existence of our community, and the future of Las Vegas is in our hands also. So this consent agenda brings, we're giving direction to our staff here in the city that to go ahead and apply for all this that we can apply for, so that we can get appropriate funding. Now, this is millions of dollars that we're asking for. Whether we'll get them or not is a different thing. But these things are important for the future of Las Vegas, for our water system. So I just wanted to clarify that, Mr. Mayor, that we are working hard and we are doing things the way we should be doing, and our staff is working hard to help us protect the citizens of Las Vegas. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and with that, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya,
Second.
second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our business items. Item number 1, request approval of resolution number 2239. This is a budget adjustment for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. We have our interim finance director, Dominic Chavez.
Hello, Mr. Chavez.
Hello
Welcome
again, Mayor
back.
Council. This one's a little bit lengthy, I apologize for that. We had a lot of requests come through. Here to request approval, Resolution 2239, the City of Las Vegas is in need of making budget adjustments to the 2022 fiscal year budget to include an increase to the expense for Fund 217 Special Legislative Appropriation, ALTSD number A2085281 in the amount of $181,923. A decrease to Fund 217 Special Legislative Appropriation, Riverwalk Construction, E2692 in the amount of $5,261. An increase to Fund 217 Special Legislative Appropriation, Las Vegas Park Improvements in the amount of $64,943.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 22-39.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call us, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Sorry, Dominic.
No, thank you.
Saved your tongue there for a while.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Mr. Chavez.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 2, review and request approval of fiscal year 2022-2023 contract and scope of work between Main Street de Las Vegas and the City of Las Vegas. We have our Community Development Director, Amy Weiser.
Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor
Thank you,
and
and
Council.
thank you for all your hard work.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
know we threw you in there, and it seems like you're doing just fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You have before you, hopefully the final draft of the contract for the next fiscal year for Main Street de Las Vegas. So I gave you a red line version so that you could see what we added or deleted, so hopefully that helped in your review. We just made a few changes, kind of solidified some dates and some deliverables, and hopefully that's clear for you. But if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. And also, the Main Street de Las Vegas folks are here. Reina Fernandez, the president of the board, as well as Tasha and Tina are here as well. So they're here to answer any questions you may
Welcome.
have.
Welcome, guys.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Romero?
Thank you, Amy. I know we kind of cleared up some of the issues that we had with the last contract, and I'm okay with it, except for one part, and I'm going to make a motion. I don't know how it goes, but I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract, removing language in the second whereas, in the recital, where it specifically states office space located at 500 Railroad Avenue. I'd like to change that language to just say office space in general.
Would you like it to just say for the use of office space?
Yes, and just leave it general. And with that, that's my motion. Third page?
I believe Main Street de Las Vegas did have a few questions for you as well before you close out.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
That was a motion.
To accept the proposal? There's a motion on the floor, second.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Olivari. Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Mr. Mayor, I believe Main Street de Las Vegas had a few questions
Oh,
about the
I'm sorry.
contract before you actually make a motion and vote.
Yeah.
They just had a few clarification questions I think they really do want to
Sure.
ask you.
Sure, welcome.
Okay.
Welcome, Reina.
That's what it was.
Okay, really, we just had one, and we just wanted to clarify page 3, item number 6, and it's as requested by the city, assist with community-wide, and we just wanted a little bit of clarification on what you had in mind with that, with community events. I mean, whether
Page
you're...
what?
Item number 6 on page 3 of 4,
In the scope of work.
in the scope, sorry.
I think what we had written is, as requested by the city, assist with community-wide holiday events within the MSLV district, such as Boo Fest, Christmas Parade, tree lighting, etc. I think what they're wanting to know is if we could define assist, as far as
Whether you
a
want-
little more clarification for them. Are we just wanting them to help promote it? Are we wanting them to help?
I think the promotion and then also the attendance, I mean,
Okay,
I think as, Main Street as an organization, I
Okay.
think, when we have these, I think it's special, I mean, it's important that, that the representation's there. I know individually sometimes you go, but I think maybe that presence too,
Okay.
where we're not doing everything by ourselves or vice
Okay.
versa, and we kind of
My-
work together. If
perfect.
that
My
makes
understanding
sense.
is one time we organized one of the events, and we just wanted to clarify that that wasn't what was needed, so. Perfect. All right.
Did you want that clarified in here at all, or you're good?
I mean, as long as it's not
Okay.
record,
Okay,
it's fine.
all right, all right.
All right, thank you.
The other thing,
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Montoya?
Mr. Hernandez, the other thing was this, with this contract, if within 6 months, you're not gonna complete a scope or something or other, meet with our city manager,
We got it.
with Amy, and get back to us and see what we can do about it.
Okay.
Instead of waiting till the last minute and the last, the end of the year.
We'll request an amendment
Okay.
beforehand.
Work with us.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for all your work. We appreciate it, Rena. So there's a motion on the floor by Ms. Kate,
Councilor Romero?
Mr. Romero, a second by Mr. Olivari.
Is there an amendment?
I
Pardon
make
me?
the amendment.
With an amendment?
Yes, correct.
You got that language?
With the
With that
amendment
clarification
Yeah.
on the scope of work.
and the
And the amendment to
office
Correct.
location.
Yes.
Location. All right. Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you.
And thank you to Main Street for all that you do. Appreciate it.
Moving on to item number 3, request approval of resolution number 22-52 for a one-year extension to grant offer control number L40000558 to the New Mexico Department of Transportation. We have our Public Works Director, Arnold Lopez.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve resolution 22-52.
So, Commissioner?
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Montoya. Welcome, Arnold. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
I just want to say thank you. There's so much happening with the streets, and people are calling, they're excited that things are going on, and so just thank you for all that you do, and all your employees. And the streets have always been a big issue for Las Vegas, and I think the citizens are seeing that we're taking care of as many as we can, so thank you, Arnold.
Thank you as well.
Appreciate it.
And that's even when they're distributing water on Wednesdays.
Right.
Next order of business?
Mr. Mayor, item number 4, request approval of new fitness equipment at the Abe Montoya Recreation Center for a cost of $101,699.54. We have our Parks and Rec Director, Stephen Aragoy.
Hi, Stephen.
Council. Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
So what I bring in in front of you is to purchase state-of-the-art equipment for the rec center, for the Montoya Recreation Center. Our facility, the equipment is breaking. Every day we have less and less equipment. We've ordered in the past as far as looking at different invoices, different manufacturers that they've purchased equipment prior to me taking over as Parks and Rec Director, and it has not been commercial. So all of this equipment is commercial and professional equipment. The Samsung Flex racks that are on there, the 3 of those, that's state of the art. You have them at a lot of universities, like University of Colorado is the big one closest to us. But it provides, instead of having 60 different machines do 60 different exercises, this machine and this equipment does 60 different. And it's professional equipment.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
Mr. Maestas, is this coming out of the general fund or is it out of their budget?
It's in Recreation
Recreation budget.
Department budget, yes.
And another question, Mr. Mayor. Are you replacing equipment or this is just new equipment that you're not replacing in here?
This will add to the strength training. It will replace the treadmills that we have that are just, I'm not very thin. So I can get on that treadmill myself and it will skip and just stop because they can't handle the constant 15 hours a day pounding. These are professional hospital grade. That's what they use for the stress test, the Landis equipment. It's top of the line cardio equipment. And that's what we can bring to our customers and to the residents of Las Vegas.
So your budget can sustain it?
We have money in what was approved in 2010 for the increase of the gross receipt tax for the rec center.
Okay. Oh, no. So with that, Mr. Mayor, if there's no discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve the new fitness equipment.
Second, Mr.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya, a second by Mr. Romero. Roll call, please.
Councillor Olivari?
Yes.
Councillor Montoya?
Yes.
Councillor Casey?
Yes.
Councillor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councillor Montoya, a second by Councillor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
That's exciting. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it.
Moving on to item number 5, request approval of resolution number 22-56. This is restructuring the City of Las Vegas organizational chart. We have our city manager, Leo Maestas, and our HR director, Darlene Arguello.
Welcome, Darlene.
Good evening, Mayor and
Appreciate you being
Council.
here.
Thank you. Okay, tonight we have for your consideration resolution number 2256, restructuring the Las Vegas, the City of Las Vegas organizational chart. We only have one change for your consideration, and that's the Public Works organizational chart. On the last council meeting, you guys approved the administrative assistant to be promoted to office manager after further evaluation. And in the best interest of the city, we're requesting that be changed back to administrative assistant.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya?
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to consider the approval of resolution number 2256.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya, a second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Councillor Romero?
Yes.
Councillor Casey?
Yes.
Councillor Montoya?
Yes.
Councillor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councillor Montoya, a second by Councillor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya?
Mr. Maestas, I would recommend that you, every department do evaluations on employees as per the personnel rule, and that all supervisors start giving merit raises as they're needed or required. I think we need to reward those people that are doing their job, that are exceeding their job. I think we can't afford to lose anybody. So I recommend that you look forward towards working towards that way, if the budget allows. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Darlene, I know when you started, one of your first tasks that I asked you to do is to make sure everybody had a current job evaluation.
Yes.
How close are you to, did everyone respond?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, we're only seeing, some minor issues.
Okay.
But those are getting addressed.
Okay.
And so they're also getting addressed through administrative regulations, and there's some processes that are being changed.
Great job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Next order of business, thank you for being here, Darlene.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work.
Mr. Mayor, item number 6, request approval for out-of-state travel for City Manager Leo Maestas and Councilor David Romero to attend the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, that's Naleo, National Policy Institute on the Latino Workforce and Economic Opportunity. We have our City Manager, Mr. Maestas.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
I can. I'll do the presentation on this one because I've been an active participant in Naleo And there was this institute that was happening. Of course, there's an application process that you put in, and I had suggested to city manager, and I think, I don't know if I had sent you guys the email. If not, I apologize, but as members, I think we're all members, and you guys should be getting emails. If not, then maybe I could check into that. But we both submitted for this, and we were accepted. I want to let you know that Naleo was paying for the rooms and travel, the flights, the rooms, everything. I do want to, I don't know if you guys were able to look at the agenda, and I think it's important that, this is a National Institute on Latino Workforce, and I just kind of want to give, some of the sessions that are in here. The Economic State of Latinos is one of the sessions. Green Jobs and Latinos Addressing Barriers. The Digital Divide of Digital Equity Act. Reskilling the Essential Workforce. Not only on top of, these very important sessions, breakout sessions that are done, there's very influential, people within the Naleo organization, and to me, it's something that's, the networking alone that you receive in this is great, and I thought it was an opportunity. I submitted, and I don't know if you did finally, Mayor, or I know Leo did, but we were both selected. I don't know if they didn't select you, but
No, they did. It was just that I couldn't go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I just, I wanted to present this, again, everything's being paid for by Naleo, the travel, the room, everything, and the agenda's there. If you guys have any questions, I could answer them. I know Leo probably won't be able to answer, but.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Maestas, any comments?
No, sir. I just believe it'd be a great opportunity to be able to collaborate with other municipalities from across the state, across the nation, I should say.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and request approval for the out-of-state travel for city manager and Leo Maestas and Councillor David Romero.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. Second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Councillor Olivari?
Yes.
Councillor Montoya?
Yes.
Councillor Casey?
Yes.
Councillor Romero?
I have to abstain.
Have a motion by Councillor Montoya, a second by Councillor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion
And
carries.
I'm sorry, I'd just like to make one point, is that the city is not encumbering any expenses for this trip at all. It is fully funded by National Association of Latino Elected Officials. Thank you. Next.
Maybe they could report on what they learned,
Yeah.
how they learned. Yeah, that would be good.
Next order of business.
Item number 7, request approval of the International Association of Firefighters, the IAFF Local 4625 agreement. We have our Fire Chief, Stephen Span.
Mr. Span, welcome. Thank
Mayor
you
and
for
Council.
being here.
Thank you, sir. I also have the IEF local president, Joyce, in the staff.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
All right. So Mayor and Council, our negotiations have come to an end for this year, thankfully. We have a few items on here, one fairly large item, which is the pay plan. The other ones is we, through this process, adopted a fatigue risk management plan that we're going to develop and have finalized by October 1st. That's basically just looking at national studies to help with retention and the health of our firefighters, so we can see if they're starting to be overworked or if they need breaks. But we'll bring that policy before y'all to review as well, once it's done by October 1st. The next one is we made a small change to Article 27 for drug and alcohol testing. The previous pointed to the resolution itself that we adopted last time. The new adopted one will refer to city and drug alcohol policy regardless of what resolutions we adopt or change. It always refers just to that. Okay, the third, Article 30. We made an adjustment where previously the personnel records employees were allowed to request their personnel records and pay a price of $1 per page, per copy up to 10 pages. We changed it where once per year they're allowed one free copy of their personnel. After that, they have to pay the price for it. Next one is Article 32, which is the compensation. This comes into the proposed pay plan that we brought before you today. This will set our firefighters on an actual pay plan where they can look at it when they start year one, and they can see what they will have if they stay X amount of years or go for certain positions. Mr. Sena is our expert on that if you want details on the pay plan itself. We did do a breakdown on it and look at it. The fiscal impact for the remainder of this year would be $91,234.89. That breaks down to the $10,137 per month, but an average of $8,633 per firefighter that gets this initial impact for the first fiscal. And that's going from today until the end of our fiscal year.
Was Mr. Chavez Dominic Chavez part of the negotiation?
Yes, sir, he was.
And the city manager?
City manager had assigned us as a team, and we referred to him, but it was HR, Dominic, myself, and Mr. Aaron.
And how is, are we able to accommodate that with our current budget, Mr. Chavez?
At the moment, the current budget is not or it's not at that range, so we'll have to do a line adjustment to get that up.
How much of an adjustment would we have to make in our budget?
What did you do,
91,000
90,000?
for the remainder of the fiscal year.
However, we do have a lot of vacancies that we have budgeted for, so it may take, that may get us through the year, it could, just based on whether we pick up staff.
Any question, Mr. Troy?
Mr. Span, other departments that are paying double time and a half on holiday pay?
Other fire departments are, I don't know about the other departments who are in the city.
What was that?
I don't know about the other departments in the city, but other fire departments are, sir.
Which departments?
Other fire departments?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, they are.
Yes, sir.
Albuquerque, Santa Fe.
Yes, sir. I believe so.
The closest one that I can quote is from Santa Fe County, and they have had it in their contract prior to their current ratifications that they're going through. I'm not able to actually see what ratifications they're working on yet until they're out and actually ratified, but that is a standard.
But all those fire departments, they have a lot more income coming in too, right?
Some do, per se, yes, sir. And some are lower income and lower population as
Because
well.
of their tax base
Yes, sir.
and their, what is that record that they have? Rating, safety rating?
ISO rating, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So is that at all, is that something that you can compromise on or no?
The ISO rating?
The tight double time and a half?
As far as what, sir?
Well, everybody else gets time and a half for holiday pay.
Everyone else as far as
And this is working out to be time and a half,
Yes,
double
sir.
time and a half. And it doesn't have a limit of hours, so if you work 24 hours, you get double time and a half for 24 hours?
no,
Yes.
sir.
It's for the actual hours worked, sir. So if they show up for a 48-hour shift, they're only there 2 hours and they go home sick, you only get paid for that 2 hours. So,
And also depending on the situation for whichever holiday it may be, one team can be relieved by another team at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is our standard. The personnel that is leaving for the holiday would get the 9 hours of hours worked versus the 15 hours of the oncoming crew that would be coming on. They would be getting the 15 hours, and that's what the language is built in.
So, I used to have my employees work time and a half, and we're on 12 on, 12 off. But what if you get the same shift getting the holiday every time?
if that's how the calendar landed, because the guys are on a rotating shift, so it's not that we assign them a holiday, but depending on how their 48, 96 lines up, those are the days they end up on.
Because you gotta be fair about who gets all that overtime.
Yes, sir.
You can't be having the same crew every time there's a holiday.
But it shouldn't be the same crew because it's a rotating schedule, so like 1 year the guys work Christmas, and next year it'll be the blue team, the next year it'll be the red team that'll work it, because the way their schedules rotate out. So we don't actually sit there and tell them you're gonna work Christmas unless someone should call in sick and we have to call in for coverage of shift. That'd be the only situation.
And on this educational pay, do you have anybody on that?
We do have several personnel on it. We actually turned in a request this week for one that just came off probation and has his bachelor's as well.
Okay. I have no other questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
So this is just for this fiscal year, right? This contract?
Yes, sir.
Till June 30th?
And actually is it March? We go for a full opener.
But the contract is basically till June 30th, and the next bargaining will be the next
Next fiscal year, yes.
Okay. So the only impact that would have is 91,000, and Dominic, you're okay with that? Okay. And I mean, I totally support, I mean, I've always supported the fire department and the guys, and always, talking about the raises, but there's one concern that I have on this. And I know, we talked about promotion from within. The concern that I have on this is that we have some employees here, firefighters that might be making more after this contract is approved than some of the leadership team. So I guess my thing is, is there going to be discussion, I guess this will go to city manager, on this upper part? Because, it's, you kind of get it, because you're going to have one guy that's, in the bargaining contract, and another guy that's not in the bargaining contract, and this one's probably going to be, which this one has a lot more responsibility.
Right.
So that might open up where I might go down, I don't want that leadership position if I can make more down here, and that opens up, to me, that it might leave us with a gap on leadership. That's kind of a concern I have. It has nothing to do with the contract, but I'm thinking the department as a whole.
Yes, sir. We have, city manager and I have discussed working on that. The main focus at this point is we're just trying to keep our foundation. We're tired of losing our guys that we trained for a year or two to Los Lunas and these other towns, and it leaves our town with, forgive the words, but rookies. And then we pay to train them, the city pays that expense, so they go somewhere else. So if we can retain them, like the mayor's been saying, retention in our city, if we can retain them, we can work together and move up for the rest of our officers. And I understand I have a lieutenant opening right now, and there's some I'm looking at going, well, I can make more staying on shift.
That's what I mean.
I could too, I can make more on shift, but we gotta stabilize our foundation before we go a little bit further.
Says a lot, Chief, for you.
That's, Councilor Romero, that's how I retired from the DOT. Because all my employees under me, 13 of them were making more money than myself on overtime. But, Mr. Span, so is this, Leo, is this going back to March, to May? Or is it starting today? If it's approved?
It would take effect today, but the date that's dated on here is December 31st. Is that date correct?
Yes, sir. So the effectiveness of the pay scale, as it's written, is one full effective pay day after adoption by council.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it'd be in one of the paydays in October that would go.
I remember reading that somewhere.
Yes, sir.
But the end date, the expiration date?
One last question, Mr. Dominic. So this overtime at double time and a half, it's covered?
We can cover that.
Can cover
We
that?
don't have enough holidays
It
to
is
really
fiscal.
concern ourselves about.
23rds are into negotiations.
12 holidays.
There's the negotiations.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to consider this of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 4625 agreement.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya, second.
Second as well.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, Mr. Montoya?
Mayor and Council, just so we are all on the same page, that the expiration date on the contract is June 31st of next year, correct?
On the
Because
contract.
the contract right now states December, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
It's December 31st, 2023, but we go into negotiations in March to start the new one. And if we finish before July 1st, then it can go, we'll bring it to council for that next one.
As far as the fiscal impact and compensation Article 32, that has been stated in prior contracts that it is per fiscal year, and that is acknowledged and recognized by the union.
That language is in the contract then?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate all your hard work.
Mayor and council, thank you for helping
And
my guys.
thanks for a swift negotiation and moving quickly on this contract. Your team deserves it. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank the management team as well. They helped us through this, Dominic and HR, city manager.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Darlene and Dominic. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes our business items. Next is if there's a need for executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to request executive session to to discuss limited personnel matters pursuant to NMSA 1978, 10-15-1H2. To discuss limited personnel matters, no action will be taken.
There's a motion on the floor to enter executive session. I'll entertain a second, please. Second by Mr. Romero. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti?
Yes.
Counselor Romero? I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
That just the council remain in chambers?
Okay. Are you done already? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we return into regular session after having been in executive session to discuss limited personnel matters pursuant to NMSA 1978, 10-15-1, H2. No decisions were made, no vote was taken on anything.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
There's a second to enter into regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion to adjourn by Mr. Montoya, second by Ms. Casey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion, the meeting's adjourned.